welcome to this week's podcast, Race Central with Kurt Hansen. That'd be me, Unplugged. Syd the Kid, STK as we know her, love her, is, she went up to Chicago for a big wedding and she got the crud. So Syd is on assignment this week, but lo and behold, the better looking half of our podcast will not be on this week's show. But I was going to do a long segment in this show about safety and especially some of the insights as a broadcaster when we see things like what happened on Monday Night Football with Damar Hamlin. Thank God it looks like he's improving. It's an incredibly freak accident. I've done a lot of homework since then, but we're going to do that next week when we can get Syd involved because she brings a fresh, young perspective. I'm just an old guy, happy to make a living. But we're going to talk next week about when freak things like this happen, how do sports leagues, and especially because this is a motorsports show, how does motorsports and how have motorsports reacted to make things safer based on sometimes even very, very freak and bizarre incidents that aren't commonplace. But I think more importantly, because there was a lot of comments about how the broadcasters, Troy Buck and everybody at ESPN, how they handled it. What does a broadcaster do? What can they say? How do you manage the emotions, especially when in some cases you already know the worst thing is played out? And I've been in that situation many times. And I think it'd be fascinating to talk about because we saw what happened with Damar Hamlin on Monday, but I think from a motorsports perspective, and this is a motorsports platform, nobody's really talked about or knows how a broadcaster in a motorsports environment, when things like this happen, how you respond and are you coached on what to say? The short answer is no. But I think it'd be a fascinating segment. And so we're going to do that next week for probably a full half hour. But I think you would love it and be fascinated because I guarantee you're going to hear stuff that you've never heard before and heard it, right from the horse's mouth because sadly enough, I've been involved with many situations like that in my career. And I think it'd be really interesting to talk about. But so what we're going to talk about this week, though, is, and it's something I was going to do anyway, but Syd the Kid, like I say, is I think she's got a fever of like 5,000 or something like that. That seems awful high. Michael Andretti and what Andretti Autosports Group is doing, it's pretty damn impressive. I know, and a lot of people don't know or remember Michael Andretti's badly timed entrance into Formula One. And I'll try to touch on that today, but maybe not. Maybe I'll get to that next week also, because I know a lot about it, and it was a dirty deal, and it never let Michael or would have let Michael showcase his talents. But as you probably know, Michael Andretti was efforting to buy Sauber a couple of years ago, the Formula One team. He also most recently was trying to get, I don't know if it's their favorite son, but certainly, one of the young stars of the NTT IndyCar Series, Colton Herta, into Formula One, and the FIA, which is the governing body of Formula One, a very large, powerful entity. I've dealt with them in the past, and we had broadcast agreements to air a lot of their content, and one of them being the World Rally Championship, which we took away from Speed TV. Ha! Gotcha! As well as Aussie V8 Supercars. Yeah, this little old company, Race Central TV, by the way, the longest running motorsports radio and television show on the radio and on television. But these guys have been super aggressive as of late. I mean, I don't think there was any time off in the Andretti camp because they've been working really hard. And the announcement that they just released about 10 days ago or so in their partnership with Wayne Taylor to bring the Andretti name back into IMSA, the International Motorsports Association, in the GTP category. Boy, I'm glad they brought that moniker back because that resonates with me from back in the days, as we call the halcyon days of IMSA and the P cars, as we called them, and the great battles between the manufacturers and such. But essentially, and there was a lot of people saying, why now? Why Wayne Taylor? I mean, Wayne Taylor's legacy in IMSA is deep. It's storied. They've won the Rolex 24 countless times. But why now and why Wayne Taylor? Well, just for that reason. I mean, Wayne Taylor Racing is a hugely storied franchise and has so much history and legacy and respect and power within the world of the International Motorsports Association. Andretti is basically now just manufactured a turnkey deal to return to IMSA and maybe win straight out of the box. I mean, what a great way to extend the Andretti brand and do it with a team that could literally put them on the top step of the podium at the Rolex 24 or wherever they may go next year. So I think that's a huge move, and that's my answer why he did it. It's not his deal. It's a shared deal, but it puts Andretti right at the top of the pedestal without having to build, develop, take all the years of teething problems, so on and so forth, to build that brand and become competitive. They're competitive straight out of the box. Now, let's do this. Let's take a quick timeout. I'm going to come back. We're going to talk about now the Andretti Formula One deal with GM and Cadillac. Holy cow. I know a lot about that deal from being the Probably World Series announcer for the series and TV host on CBS in 2017, my relationship with Johnny O'Connell and knowing a lot about that whole brand. But let's take a quick breather because we're a lot to consume and a lot to, you got to buckle up when you watch this show. Let's take a quick time out. Syd the Kid, I hope you feel better, but let's hear from our good friends at Total Beverage and PDA Road Gear, and we'll be back, as I like to say, right after this. Welcome back, as we like to say. Welcome back to Kurt Hansen's Race Central Unplugged. If you're wondering where the far better looking other half is, Syd the Kid is down with the crud. We wish her a speedy recovery. She'll be back next week. We'll talk, as I said in the intro of this program, about tragedy, motorsport safety, how the broadcasters respond, how it's all managed. But hopefully you got my first segment about Andretti, the turnkey, Wayne Taylor Racing, all that stuff. Makes complete sense. It's the fastest way to get to the top of the podium without having to spend, boatloads of money, even though they're spending boatloads of money, but to get results right away. So here's the deal with Formula One. As you know, and maybe you don't know, Andretti tried to buy Sauber a couple of years ago, then tried to get Colton Herta a super license, which you have to have a super license to compete in Formula One. That didn't go through. But Andretti Global now, or Andretti Autosports Global, or whatever the exact moniker is, this is the Motorsports Media Group Global, because we're a global broadcast company. This is perfect for what the Andrettis need to do now. They've got platforms, obviously, very strong platforms. Kind of an off year last year in the IndyCar series, but that's not going to stick around long. They got a turnkey platform in IMSA. I tried to buy Sauber. That didn't work. I think the FIA was in there trying to muck it up. Very powerful entity. And, if they don't like you one stitch, it's not going to happen. But by now, partnering with GM and Cadillac, you've probably heard of them. They're a little old car company out of Detroit. And they've had so much success in World Challenge and IMSA. They come now with their hybrid prototype car again. Interesting, right? Cadillac, hybrid, Wayne Taylor, Andretti, IMSA, now Formula One. Somebody's using the old noggin back there. It's going to take big boy bucks to get this done. And I think Michael, I've talked to him about it in the past. I know he was very unhappy with what happened with him in Formula One. Ayrton Senna's teammate. It was destined to fail from the beginning, and it did. But to expand this Andretti Global deal now, it's going to be hard because the FIA is powerful enough where they can just say, you know what, we'll just pick up our football and go play somebody or somewhere else. But I think strategically, Michael is putting enough power players in place. And if you read the press releases, he comes out and kind of almost says that, like, hey, look at us now. You poo-pooed us a couple years ago. You wouldn't let my driver get a super license. So you know what? I'm going to be Robert Kraft. I'm going to build a Super Bowl championship team, spend all the money. I'm going to build Gillette Stadium, mixed use retail. I'm going to build a platform that's so strong, FIA. You need to look at us and you need to take us fucking seriously, because Cadillac's going to get behind it. GM's going to get behind it. America's going to get behind it. Formula One viewership since COVID and the Netflix series has almost tripled. We now have 3 freaking races in America. It's been decades since that happened. Long Beach, Phoenix, I certainly add all those. Watkins Glen. The FIA is going to have a hard time taking a dump on Michael Andretti now with the global partners and the positioning that he has put in place. I hope it comes about big time, because what's going to happen now, he's going to be able to leverage the FIA, which he couldn't do before, and he's going to put Colton Herta in that seat. Now, maybe not right off the bat, because the FIA may say, well, you know what? Just to jerk with him, you need to hire one of our drivers that's a test driver that's with another team now, just to kind of twist the knife a little bit and say, play nice, put one of our other drivers that's not in the series currently or is looking for a seat, prove that you can build a car that's competitive, that can qualify and not embarrass us and you. But mark my word, they've got the pieces in place now to leverage this deal. They have to play it very carefully. You don't just go and bang on the FIA's door and tell them what to do, because they'll tell you to basically pound sand. Don't bollocks this up, as they would say in the UK. So I love it. I'd like to see it. I'm curious how it comes about. Nobody's talked about budgets or who's going to be writing the check. Obviously, they've been in touch with all their partners, like Chevy, Cadillac, or GM. I don't think are going to underwrite the whole deal, but are they going to buy a current chassis and drop, much like Formula One was back in the day? They had your own chassis builders, and you dropped a Cosworth V8 in it, or whatever. Or back in the early days of IMSA and the Rolex Grand Am Series, you buy a Riley and Scott chassis and put a big old 5.7 liter Chevy V8 in it, turnkey race car. So are they going to buy technology from other teams? May not be talked about right out in the open, but I'm not so humble, sorry. In my opinion, they are going to be working all the back doors, much like that guy, the super rich Canadian who will remain nameless right here, in his team, and buying up and creating what they call I'm not going to get into all that. But I love it. I love the inner workings of Formula One and the backstabbing and, everybody doing what they do. They'll be buying technology, or maybe leasing technology, or shared tech, whatever you want to call it. But here's a short question. Do they buy an already competitive car and drop a V8 Cadillac or GM or however they want to brand it into the back and hopefully get competitive? I don't know. Nobody's talking about that yet. So a lot of work to be done, but I love it. And big kudos to Mario and Michael and the whole Andretti clan. This is big. It's exciting for American motorsports. And how cool would it be? And I don't know if this happens soon or if it happens by the end of the year, maybe by Las Vegas. They have a car that they're trying to qualify. Would certainly seem to make sense that you have an American driver in an American car, per se, with an American V8 horsepower or V10 or whatever it is, per se, and trying to qualify for Las Vegas. That's already going to be one of the most well-attended first-year events ever. And now we could have an American trying to qualify an American car with the Andretti name on it. Woohoo! Happy days are here again. Holy cow, I'm sweating. So that's going to do it for this week. Thanks for watching. It's Race Central. Race Central TV Unplugged. Syd the Kid will be back next week. We wish her speedy recovery. Thanks all for tuning in. This is, I think, episode 8 or something like that. It's going to be, look who just showed up. This is number 7. I thought we did 7. No? Okay, well, she's the boss. It's like, yes, honey. Yes, dear. So anyway, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. This is going to be a lot of fun. We got a long way to go. The season's just kicking off now. And a reminder, February 19th, be at our 16th annual Daytona 500 bash. It's all free. You can win lots of cool stuff. Super cool go-kart racing, axe throwing, win cool stuff. Like I say, it's all free. It's at Podium Karting and Event Center. And since this will be the second clash in LA, it's also the second annual bash after the clash. We'll see you February 19th at Podium Karting. PodiumKarting.com. Syd, be well. All you out there, be safe, be cool, and we'll see you next week.